This video is possible thanks to contributions to the Existence University Patreon by viewers like you. Thank you. Speaking of physical principles, this video was supposed to be about quantum. So let's get there. Do you remember how our senses were stealing energy from the forces and chemicals hitting us? What do we mean by this? We take in energy from matter from the outside world and convert it into something useful for us by converting that something into something useless to us, which we then use more energy to excrete that waste, as well as use more energy to find more matter to take in, so as to convert into different forms to gain energy from. So, what is energy? How can we take it in? How can we convert it? Why can we use it? We have known about energy probably our entire conceptual human history. It is that which we experience. Before naming it, before classifying it, we knew the sun and fire and the youth had lots of it. To get hot-blooded existed long before the words thermodynamics, given that we experience the heat we generate when we are mad. If one lives his life with too much intensity, he might burn out, his flame extinguished. He's burning the candle at both ends. Our language is coded all over the place with the energy we have always known to exist in some form. The issue, historically and psychologically speaking, is that everyone trips on the triple integration of neuroscience, mathematics and physics, and epistemology when it comes to thinking about energy, because energy is the concept we use to describe, well, everything, and that energy exists in reality as a thing which takes on a form, a shape, which can only really be understood with mathematics, but also in that regard appears to be as if it is a mathematical object, and that our epistemology is in fact matching reality as much as it seems that reality is matching to our epistemology. Think about the waking up as a rock thought experiment. The magic we need to pretend in order to make the premise work was that we could use some form of energy to move your consciousness without your nervous system. Implicitly, this says that our consciousness was like some form of energy, which can be moved around without material bodies being present. And to get that rock to detect reality, we needed to physically form into shapes that matter or energy outside of us can interact with, such that we take its energy and not have it take ours, which would be what being an acid is like. So what we needed in our magic was to have consciousness be energy. Then we realized that if it wasn't for having been a human when we went to bed, we couldn't have had consciousness as a rock cannot sense energy. And what does it mean to sense energy? It is to have your energy changed by some numerical-like value. That you sensed something because it made your cell have more or less electrons than it needed. And through what can only really be seen as an imbalance in the math of positive things versus negative things, your cells changed. And this is what allowed you to sense. So what the hell is energy? What are the values they hold? What are the numbers? What are we? What is consciousness? What is space and time? Perfect introduction to quantum. Everything that comes to us does so in the form of energy. Either a massive object is hitting us and/or radiation is hitting us. There are many unstable forms of being an object, and because of this, most decay, and all that remain are the stable ones. Everything we know on this planet, and in this solar system, especially before the discoveries of the 20th century, comes down to 4 kinds of things, acting in 4 basic different ways. There is the up quark, the down quark, the electron, and the bosons that let them interact. And they can all move 1, left or right, 2, up or down, 3, forward or backward, or 4, forward or backward through time. We're getting a bit absurdly simple here, but it is basically true. Everything we know are basically just molecules, which are either pure elements or mixed elemental compounds. These are just protons and neutrons and electrons, with different quantities. And we see them because they reflect photons from a light source which emits energy, and this energy moves toward our light energy detectors. The protons and neutrons are just a different combination of up and down quarks. A proton being made of 2 up quarks and 1 down quark. The up quark has an electrical charge of positive 2/3, and the down quark a charge of minus 1/3. So together the proton has a positive charge of +1. This balances, in turn, with the electron's charge of -1. And having an equal amount of both in one unit creates an element, X, which consists of an equal amount of n protons and n electrons. With them are the neutrons, composed of 1 up quark and 2 down quarks, thus a charge of 0. The up and down quarks interact with a different type of boson, which is more their size, and which is more complex than the photon, called gluons. Glue-ons, because they are like the glue that keeps the quarks together, and on because they are subatomic. The bosons, gluons, and photons have a similar job, as they are how matter interacts. The up quarks and down quarks and electrons all have a property called spin. And this property prevents them from touching each other. But touching, in one form or another, is needed so as to cause a change in the energy of the other, so as to interact with each other in the universe. If it wasn't for bosons, matter would not be able to interact. This inability to overlap matter is in one sense where we get our 3 dimensions of space from, given our nature, as protons cannot overlap, and atoms cannot overlap, and molecules cannot overlap. So, some things need to go next to, and on top of, and behind of, other objects. Our sense of time appears to come from the fact that matter interacts by sending an object without a weird spin, an object which can overlap with matter. It sends it to us, and our ability to overlap with this object allows us to absorb it with our opsin G protein, absorbing it into the rods and cones of our retinas in our eyes. The light takes time to travel, and therefore, from every object that emits and reflects light, there exists a bubble of light energy spreading out in all directions from the object, which, when drawing, requires only the removal of a dimension. And we get the image of a light cone, which are all points in space that can possibly, causally, reach and interact with and from you. At all times, you are in the spherical center of receiving photons. From your point of view, all the light was centering in on you, hitting you where you are now. And all the light you emit and reflect spreads out from you as a bubble of light radiation. Time is thus related to the appearance of all the past light within a causal reach of you, centering in on you, and all that light now hitting you will be reflected and your image projected out to everyone else in the universe. Your image spread across the surface of this light bubble. This is the nature of the world as we know it. We are a bunch of little matter bits that refuse to touch each other. And so this great expansion of universe must then appear to be forced to space out around us. We are living creatures by the fact that we have a process of taking energy to restore normalness. And our experience of the energy is caused by the fact that the little bits that refuse to touch will passive-aggressively use massless force on each other by emitting a wavy ball of energy that can touch matter. We absorb this energy if, and only if, we are tuned to it properly. And we use it for continuing the process of being little bits that don't like touching, but seemingly like working together to be some sort of massive ape creature. This video is possible thanks to contributions to the Existence University Patreon by viewers like you. Thank you.